So, how can a single book, or, a set of books, truly change the world? I don't mean just influence a few people. I mean fundamentally alter the entire course of history. It sounds like a bit of an exaggeration, doesn't it? But today, we're going to look at a project that did exactly that.
Okay, so let's dive right in. What you're looking at here is the title page of the Encyclopédie. This was a huge general encyclopedia published back in France in the mid-1700s. And yeah, at first glance, it just looks like a really old, really big book. But this was basically an intellectual bomb, just ticking away right at the heart of the old French monarchy.
And you know what? That was the whole point. Its editor, a philosopher named Denis Diderot, laid out his goal with this incredible audacity. It wasn't just about collecting facts. The goal was, and these are his words, to change the way people think. Such a simple phrase, right? But with absolutely revolutionary consequences.
To really get why this book was so radical, we have to understand the world it was born into. It was a world of seriously clashing ideas.
And this slide just illustrates that intellectual battle perfectly. The writer Voltaire really captured the whole thing. See, on one side, you had the old guard of French philosophy, the folks following Descartes. They saw the universe as a plenum, just full of swirling matter and pressure. But on the other side, you had this new English philosophy from Isaac Newton. He described a universe of empty space, a vacuum, where these invisible forces like gravity could act from a distance. As Voltaire so cleverly put it, Descartes' work was an essay, but Newton's, that was a masterpiece.
So the Encyclopedia definitely took a side in this fight. Its mission, as you can see right here, was just radical. The goal was to gather everything known to humanity, but, and this is the key part, to organize it all not by ancient tradition or what religious authorities said, but by a brand new standard, human reason itself.
And the scale of this project was, well, it was just monumental.
To even try to pull this off, they got a team of over 140 experts together. They were called the Encyclopedists.
And together, they wrote nearly 75,000 different articles, which added up to a mind-blowing 20 million words. Seriously, this was a project on a scale nobody had ever seen before. And the people behind it, it was a who's who of the Enlightenment. The whole thing was led by Diderot and the mathematician D'Alembert. They attracted all the biggest names of the time, people like Voltaire and Rousseau. But here's what's really fascinating, the story of this one guy, Louis de Jaucourt. He was a wealthy nobleman who just dedicated his life to the project. Get this, he single-handedly wrote over 17,000 articles. That's a quarter of the entire encyclopedia. Just an absolutely heroic effort.
Now, this wasn't some quiet academic exercise. Oh no, this was dangerous stuff. The establishment saw the encyclopedia for exactly what it was, a major threat. It was officially condemned for undermining the king and stirring up rebellion.
So the editors had to play this constant game of cat and mouse with the censors. In 1752, publication gets suspended. Then, in 1759, its official royal permission is revoked, which made it totally illegal. But did they stop? No way. The final volumes were actually published in secret in 1765 with a fake publisher's mark from Switzerland just to throw the authorities off their trail.
So what was actually in this book that made it so threatening? Well, it was a completely new way of seeing the world. Okay, this is so cool. What you're seeing here is their brand new map of all human knowledge. And look at the very top, entendement, which means understanding. The entire system flows from the human mind. Now, in any system before this, theology would have been at the top, the queen of the sciences. But here, it's just one little branch, tucked away under the heading of reason. This was a philosophical revolution in a single chart.
Everything was sorted into three main categories that came from human abilities: memory, which gave you history; reason, which covered philosophy and science; and imagination, which was home to poetry and the arts. And this new philosophy created this deep respect for practical, hands-on knowledge. The encyclopedia was just filled with thousands of these beautiful, detailed illustrations showing everything from how a steam engine worked to fun parlor tricks with static electricity. For the very first time, the work of a craftsman or an engineer was being treated with the same seriousness as the work of a priest or a philosopher. This focus on the practical also came with a new obsession: measurement. It just wasn't enough to describe something like electricity anymore.
Thinkers like Charles Augustin de Coulomb, who designed this amazing torsion balance, they wanted to precisely measure its force. They wanted to turn simple observation into mathematical law.
And hidden inside its thousands of articles were these direct attacks on the pillars of the old world. You'd have articles on religion that subtly questioned miracles, articles on politics that argued a ruler's power comes from the people they govern, not from God, and articles on economics that pushed for free markets instead of the rigid state-controlled guild system. It was all in there.
Ultimately, the legacy of this project was that it gave people the intellectual tools they needed to completely rebuild society on a new, rational foundation.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates that ambition. After the French Revolution, scientists went on this epic quest to create a totally new, universal system of measurement, the metric system. And to define the meter, they started this massive survey, using triangulation to measure the distance all the way from Dunkirk to Barcelona. They were literally remeasuring the Earth to create a standard based on nature and reason, not on the length of some king's foot.
This whole worldview was summed up perfectly by the great mathematician Pierre-Simon Laplace. He saw the universe as this huge, deterministic machine. In his mind, if you knew the position and the momentum of every single particle, you could predict the future with perfect accuracy. Nature wasn't about divine whims, it was a set of knowable laws.
And these ideas didn't just stay locked away in books. They spread like wildfire. By the time the French Revolution kicked off in 1789, something like 25,000 sets of the Encyclopédie had been sold all across Europe. It armed an entire generation with the arguments for liberty, for the authority of reason, and for the rights of the individual. The very same ideals that would end up toppling a monarchy.
So think about it. Their mission was to collect all the knowledge scattered across the face of the earth, organize it, and make it freely available to empower people. Does that mission sound at all familiar to you? It really should, because it's the very same dream that 250 years later would give birth to our own era's great encyclopedia project, Wikipedia.